Can you get a roll call, please?
Adrian Holden, Ed Whipper, Lynn Herstein, Stephen Pack, Joe Barker, Chris Carson,
Here.
Matthew West,
Here.
Lena Talley,
Here.
Bill Freeman, Simone Kenny,
Here.
Royce Seager, Davina, here, Sebastian, Daniel Nicholas, Trevor Martin, Joshua Steele, Gene Corbin,
Here.
Joe Ruiz,
Here.
Sean Finley, Noel Eaton, Jose Papa,
Here.
Mark Corrett,
Here.
Patty Rickey,
Here.
Tim Berman,
Here.
Becky Whitty,
Here.
Omar Atala, Ralph Hessler,
Here.
James Roberts, Kaya Powell. Have a physical forum.
Thank you. We could stand for the pledge.
By the way, Hamid Tabassian is here. I don't know if you called me. I just joined.
We got you.
Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the
republic
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to allow virtual attendance? Motion to approve. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And at this time, are there any members of the public looking to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have our action items. Item 3A, review and approval of the April 21st, 2026 TCC meeting minutes.
To approve.
Second, Becky Whitty. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 3B, nomination and election of TCC officers for fiscal year 26-27.
I can give a little bit of background on that. So every year, we do elect officers for all of our committees and our board to serve one-year terms. So currently, we have Simone Kenny serving as the chairperson and Becky Whitty as the vice chair. Both of them were elected mid-year to fill vacancies, so they are eligible for 2 additional full terms, because this is not considered a term, one of their terms, since they were filling a vacancy that was left by the previous chair who left the TCC mid-year. So the positions go into effect at the start of the fiscal year, which is July 1 and runs through June 30th. So if there's any appetite for the current to retain the positions, or if there are other recommendations or nominations or volunteers from the floor.
I move we keep the status quo. Second.
Any objection to that by those that are the status quo? That's fine. Then you can take a vote.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, does it need to be roll call?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Alrighty, moving on to our presentation and discussion items. Item 4A, presentation and discussion of the draft 2026 list of prioritized projects.
Yes, so I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of these next two items. They go hand in hand. They are related. The priority lists that we update every year, we are still in the process of updating this list. So I know we do have a link in the agenda packet. We have not had a chance yet for our TIP subcommittee to meet. They are meeting this Friday. We had a difficulty just making sure that we had a quorum. But we do have a quorum for this Friday, so they'll meet in the morning, and then in the afternoon or before the end of the day, we will be able to post the entire updated list. We just did not want to update it in pieces because we do look at a number of different documents to update it. the CIS list and the regionally significant non-CIS. Those are updated based on our adopted long-range transportation plan, which we adopted last fall in September. So we've been able to update those lists with the reprioritization that was done during that process. Any new project estimates, any new phases of projects that have moved into this year's TIP. So we do have those updates. The bike ped subcommittee was able to meet earlier this month or last month to review and score those applications. So those lists are updated. So we're just waiting on being able to update the traffic operations list. So once we update that with the new projects and put those in the ranking, we move projects that are programmed in the TIP, which we'll be talking about the next presentation item. We move those to the tier A list. We'll be able to publish that full list. So that'll come out Friday. This link will still be active, so you'll be able to access it through here. It'll also be posted on our website as well. So during that time, if you have a chance to look at it, if you have any questions or comments, please take a look at your project specifically and make sure that we have updated information. If there are updated cost estimates that aren't reflected in there, please let us know so we can make sure that we update those accordingly. Once the list is adopted at the end of next month, we do transmit it to FDOT District 5 for their use in developing their tentative work program in the fall, which will then roll into our TIP for next year. So if there's any questions or comments about the process or where we're at in updating the lists, I'd be happy to address those.
All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 4B, presentation and discussion of the draft fiscal year 26-27, the fiscal year 30-31 transportation improvement program.
So as you know, the TIP represents 5 years of program projects spanning the years of fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 31. And we use the information from FDOT's tentative work program, which they developed last fall. They did come and make a presentation to all of our committees and board regarding the projects moving into the tentative work program. In April, we do receive that information from FDOT, which allows us to then start creating our TIP based on that. So that's kind of how the list of priority projects, DOT's work program, and then our TIP are all related together. But we did want to provide a little bit of a summary information on the funding that we're seeing within the TIP this year. So there was a handout available as well as on the screen. This shows the summary of funding within both Volusia and Flagler County through the 5 years, which currently is just under $1 billion. And I say currently because what these dollar amounts do not have, they do not represent any of the roll forward projects. So you may recall that one of the first things we do after adopting the TIP is the next month we amend it to include projects that are in current year. So they're in fiscal year 26 right now, but then they carry forward into fiscal year 27. And FDOT's work program and then their TIP, that happens automatically. We have to do a formal amendment to add those back into our TIP. So right now, what we see here does not include those roll forward projects, but we will add those back in. Typically, that action happens in August. But as you can see, and this is consistent with previous years, as well as across the state, that the first couple of years are loaded heavier with funding than the last couple of years within the TIP. We also are showing on the second table the set aside funding that we receive. So this is the SU funding or the SA funding, and I'll explain the difference in a second, but that's through the Surface Transportation Block Grant. So that's formula funding that the TPO receives based on population of our urbanized area. And so that comes to us in the form of what we refer to as the SU funding. And that's the funding we use to program on your projects that come in through the call for projects. So the traffic operations and safety projects and the bike ped projects. The SA funding is also funding within that same grant program, but that's funding that FDOT can use in any area. So it's not specific to a TPO with an urbanized area greater than 2,000 population. So we work with the Department of Transportation when we're funding projects in the fall to identify our priorities. And then through that, we leverage any additional funding that they have. So in this case, some of the SA funding was placed on some of our projects to be able to move them forward. And I'll talk later about, which projects we're seeing some of that SA funding on. So it's additional funding that's not specific to the TPO, but it's available to us when we work with our partners for funding. And then we also have the TA funding. That's our transportation alternative funding. Again, that's based on a formula from the population of our urbanized area, but those are specific to the non-motorized type projects. So think bike ped, think trails. You could have a roadway project that has a bike ped component of it. So that particular part of the project could be funded with TA, and we leave that up to FDOT to help us decide which is the best funding mix when we're looking at programming projects. We provide them with our priorities, and they kind of identify which are the best funding buckets to pull those projects from. The next page shows our bike ped projects. And again, these are your projects, the member projects that come in through the call for projects that are in the TIP. Some of them were already in the TIP for certain phases, and we've been able to add additional phases. But we have them listed here. We do have 3 projects from the city of Ormond Beach, the first 3 on there. 2 projects here, or the next 2 projects are from the city of South Daytona. We have 2 projects from Port Orange, a sidewalk bundle and a trail project on Madeline Avenue. Ponce Inlet does have a mobility project, but it's a sidewalk project along Peninsula Drive. That project is being administered by Volusia County through a separate agreement with them in the town. There's 2 projects in Flagler County. These are new projects, the Old Kings Road South Multi-Use Trail and the Lehigh Graham Swamp Trailhead. Those projects are both funded for construction. And then the last project on this list is the Clyde Morris Boulevard Safety Improvement Project. DOT came a couple months ago and gave a presentation on this project. This is the Complete Streets project that runs through the Embry-Riddle campus. This is one of the projects where we saw SA funding being placed on it. It was a project that did not come through our call for projects, but it was identified in our long-range transportation plan as the #1 project on the non-SIS roadway projects. We had identified funding for it after fiscal year 30, but in working with DOT and leveraging additional funding, and by splitting the project up into 3 different segments, we were able to move it forward sooner. So the first phase for construction is being funded in the first fiscal year 27. But again, that's an example of partnership and leveraging additional funding beyond what the TPO is allocated. The next slide shows projects that are specific to receiving SunTrail funding, and keep in mind that this isn't funding that the TPO prioritizes. This is a separate application through FDOT. This is state funding and a separate program that they have. They have a separate call for projects. They don't have one every year, but when they do, it typically runs September through December. But in order for a project to be funded through SunTrail, we have to have it on our priority list. So we have a separate list that is specific to local governments that are anticipating applying for SunTrail funding. So what we ask is if a local government foresees applying for this type of funding, that they let us know and we can list that project on our priority list. We don't rank them in any particular priority order, but we do support them in applying for that funding. And it's a requirement for them to apply for the funding. So there are 2 projects on here. three projects. The first two are construction funding, and then the third one is PE funding. And all of them are for segments along the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. And then on the last page, we do have our traffic operations projects outlined here. We have a couple of them, the first two and the fourth one. Those are City of Port Orange projects that are moving through various phases from right-of-way to construction. Port Orange has been very successful in the past in bundling like projects together. They do it on the bike ped side, and these projects are a number of turn lanes at different intersections throughout the city. The third project is a City of South Daytona project. This project moved through, and it did previously receive design funding through this process, and now it's funded for construction in fiscal year 27. South Daytona also has two bridge projects on here as well. The first bridge project, Reed Canal, was also listed on the bike ped because it does have a bike ped component and is utilizing some of the bike ped funding. That was a mixed use project where we were able to pull funding from both of those categories. And then the second one is a bridge replacement along Sauls Avenue. City of Edgewater has an emergency signal at US 1 in Rhode Island. This is where they have a fire station down there. The TPO previously funded the design through this process, and now it's moving into construction in fiscal year 27. And then the City of DeBary, the Benson Junction Road Reconstruction Project is funded for construction in fiscal year 27 as well. So these are the projects that are within the new tip, the information that we received from DOT. Any projects that are deferred from current fiscal year, we may see show up in the roll forward report. So once we get that information, we'll provide a summary list of all those projects that are part of the roll forward. And again, that typically occurs in August. But if there's any questions about the tip, we are finalizing all of the information. It's a couple 100-page document. We will be posting this to our website on Friday as well for a 30-day public review comment. So please take a look at the tip. If you have any questions about any of your projects or any other projects in the tip, please reach out to us and let us know. One of the other things that we're updating in this tip is the narrative section. So we're updating it to more closely resemble some of the recent documents that we've approved within, such as our long-range transportation plan. So updating it to our new branding with our new logo and colors, and making sure there's consistency between this document and the newly adopted long-range transportation plan. So it'll look a little bit different, but it'll have all the same information in there, and it's laid out very similar with each project category having its own section. If there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address those.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4C, which is our FDOT report.
As usual, your latest construction report that's through April is included in your agenda packet. You can also access it online, where you can use the hyperlinks to get to those projects for updates. First, I just want to go over a project that's about to start in June. That's the State Road 44 from I-95 to east of South Walker Drive. This is a resurfacing project that also is going to include lighting and signalization improvements. Again, that starts in June and is expected to be complete in the spring of 27. And then as far as recently completed projects, we are finalizing our walkthrough on the Nova Road at Miles Drive new traffic signal. That was a new traffic signal, new mast arms, new accessible signals and crosswalks. And we are completing the final walkthrough this month, as well as the I-4 bridge rehabilitation that was finally accepted, completed April 13th. Next up, our safety moment for today is Traffic Safety Month. May is Traffic Safety Month, and it's a reminder that young people do experience our transportation system in many ways, whether that's walking to school, riding bikes, traveling with others, or getting behind the wheel for the first time. As our daily routines change with the onset of summer, more of our young drivers end up on our roads, going to the beach, visiting friends and family, and commuting to their summer jobs. That being said, this month also marks the start of the 100 deadliest days for teen drivers, which is the period between Memorial Day and Labor Day when our crash fatalities involving our teen drivers historically increases nationwide. This year's campaign runs from May 25th to September 7th, underscoring the importance of safe driving habits, distraction-free travel, seatbelt use, and community awareness as our summer travel ramps up. You have teen drivers, just make sure you remind them to put their cell phones down, lead by example as well. Lastly, just our normal resources, CFL Roads for project updates, I-4 Beyond the Ultimate for I-4 updates, and our Office of Safety website that has a lot of good information for training, manuals. They've got good videos on how to use roundabouts. And that's it. And then my contact information at the bottom. That's all I have for y'all today. I'll be here if you have questions for project updates afterwards. I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Moving on, do we have any staff comments?
Yes, Stephen has a comment he wants to share.
So if you submitted a project application to us during the call for project cycle, implementation, tier B of our priority list, and don't have an FDOT project information application form on file, and I've already been in contact with you. I want to remind you to get that completed form into so we could submit it to FDOT after our priority list is adopted. If you have a project on tier B of our priority list from a previous cycle, did not get funded, we also need from you a current form for 2026, which includes updated cost estimates. So all the project implementation applications or transportation planning studies. So it does not include feasibility studies. Questions, feel free to contact me or call you.
And then I just want to remind everyone or the TIP subcommittee that we were able to schedule a meeting for this Friday at 10. So we'll be reviewing all the traffic operations and planning study applications that came in. So we'll be meeting 10 a.m. in this room. And then it's also open to anybody else that wants to attend as well. If you submitted an application and you didn't want to come in, it's not required that you be here. But if you want to be here, it's an open meeting. There is no virtual option for the meeting, just given the nature of kind of the interaction and discussions that take place. It doesn't really lend itself to virtual options. And then I also wanted to take a moment to recognize one of our staff members. Stephen Harris is celebrating his 20th work anniversary next week this Friday with the TPO. And so Stephen started with us in 2006 as the bicycle and pedestrian planner. And he served in that role, in that capacity for 10 years. When then he moved into transportation planner, project manager, took on additional roles. Also over the last few years, as we transitioned at the TPO staff here, he also took on managing the transit program here at the TPO. He's also updating a lot of the call for projects, the priority list, managing some of the traffic studies, the feasibility studies for traffic operations. So we're very thankful that Stephen has spent so many years here at the TPO, and everything that he does shows in his dedicated day-to-day work. So we just want to say thank you, Stephen, and congratulations.
just realized that.
Okay.
Sorry, I realized I skipped item 4D, the Volusia County and Flagler County construction reports. Those are included in the back of your packets. If anybody has any questions or comments. And then, are there any member comments?
Meeting was the tip meeting, that's this Friday.
It's Friday at 10 a.m.
Did you want us to hear that?
If you, it's not required that you're there. Sometimes there's questions from the committee members, but not always.
Are they long?
So the meeting is scheduled from 10 to noon. We do have quite a few project implementation applications. So those are ones that take kind of the most time. Typically what happens is if there is somebody in the audience that has an application, they'll review those first.
Sounds good to me.
All right, and then we have item 7, which are our information items. Those are also in the back of your packets. If you have any questions or comments on those? Not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And I think that's second. We are adjourned.